Early 2020, and Ruben Ayala, an Army Special Forces vet turned entrepreneur, is thriving. The healthy snack vending machine company he's founded in San Antonio is growing. His staff is happy, and every day brings more business and bigger prospects. And then, the COVID-19 pandemic shuts the world down. Ruben's business comes to a standstill. No one's going out, and no one's buying anything from vending machines. He's pretty sure the business will eventually rebound, but in the meantime, he finds himself with nothing to do.
COVID gives me an opportunity to see what's going on across the nation. We're at distress, a lot of dissonance.
Ruben is particularly distressed as he sees how other veteran-owned and run businesses are conducting and marketing themselves.
What I saw was a lack of positive messaging in the veteran community, particularly when it comes to apparel, because everybody wears it. What I was getting bombarded with on my social media was just a lot of negative imagery.
Ruben had entrepreneurship in his blood. His mother not only served in the Army, but ran a number of businesses on the side while doing so. Ruben himself had served for over a decade and learned a number of lessons from his time in the Special Forces that he had already applied to his ventures. He starts to reflect on what he sees being put out into the world.
I felt that something needed to be done about it. So instead of complaining about it, I said, why not create another clothing company? But this time we're going to be the antithesis of everything that I see.
Did Ruben have any experience running a clothing company?
Zero. Yeah, I couldn't tell you how to make a shirt.
But Ruben's time in Special Forces had prepared him for anything.
I was a team leader, and we would deploy, and you have to run a fire base on your own. You're in charge of 600 people. You got to take care of toilet issues. You got to take care of generators and fuel. And oh, by the way, at night, you got to go take care of bad guys, too. People like to talk about the war stories, but when you think about the stuff that we were doing, you're like running little cities.
And 45 days after deciding to start Triple Nikel Clothing, Ruben found himself at a promotional photo shoot.
That was our coming out party, and that's the first time I got to see the shirts. And when he opened the box, my first thought was, man, what am I doing? I'm trying to sell clothing? This don't even make sense. I hope it works.
It's now 4 years later, and Triple Nikel is thriving, with nationwide distribution and fans within and outside the veteran community. More importantly, his mission has succeeded and brought positivity to the veteran world. In today's episode, our hosts sit down with Ruben to discuss the lessons he learned during his service that have aided Triple Nikel, the documentary series and museum exhibit that he and his co-founders are about to launch this summer, and how his mother, a fellow Army vet, taught him the most important lessons on starting a business. I'm Carrie Varohaikis, and this is Army Matters.
Welcome to Army Matters. I'm your co-host, Lieutenant General Leslie Smith, the former Inspector General of the Army. And I'm here with my good friend today,
the 15th Sergeant Major of the Army, retired, Dan Dailey. Les, it's always so good to be with you. Let me ask you a question, Les.
Yeah.
Because you're a business-oriented type of guy, aren't you?
Yes, you are too, but Go ahead and ask your question.
Yeah. So if you were going to start a company, and you can't say consulting, because I know you have that already, what would it be? What would it be?
What would it be? Interesting. Yeah, I think I would love to have a coffee shop.
A coffee shop?
Yeah, or like, and my oldest daughter and I were talking about this, maybe a bed and breakfast. You know?
Wow, you went way off the
what'd you think
of what I was thinking.
Yeah. Well, what were you thinking I would have?
I don't know, something a little bit more, complex. I don't know.
You said non-consulting. What would it be?
like a
Coffee shop would be
microchip
cool.
factory or something.
What?
Like a microchip factory?
No, that's too much work. Yeah, that's too much infrastructure, man.
Too much work.
Yeah. How about you?
I want to start a brewery.
What? Hold on. You already have it. You just haven't started the company yet.
Yeah. Well, I have a brewery in my house. Yeah. But no, I'd like to actually start a brewery in an old train station.
So would it be called DD Brewery? Daniel Dailey's Brewery?
No, I want to start at my hometown, and there's an old trade station there that I want to buy.
Okay.
And it's going to be
What would be the name of it, though?
Palmerton Brewing Company.
Palmerton, Pennsylvania.
Mm-hmm. It's a lot of work, though. It's a lot of work.
Yeah, well,
all business is a lot of work.
So, ladies and gentlemen, the reason why we're talking about startups today is because our host is a successful entrepreneur,
but he's also a real American hero.
What type of real American hero are you talking about?
Like Special Forces Green Beret hero.
Wow, that's pretty cool.
That is pretty cool.
Hey, Ruben Ayala, welcome to Army Matters, brother.
Wow, I don't think I'm worthy of that entire intro. I feel mega blessed right now. That was dope.
Hey, bro, we got to take care of our people, man. We got to make you feel like you're part of the Army AUSA team now.
That's right.
I like that.
I'm a little intimidated just by your voice, just his voice alone. They might call him to replace one of us too.
That's right. He might just take the whole show over. What do you think?
I don't know about that.
So, Ruben, let's jump right in. Tradition we have on the show is, we want our listeners to really know who you are. Tell us about your life. Where'd you grow up? How'd you become a soldier?
Yeah, that'd be fun to talk about. So a little bit about me for those who don't know who I am. Ruben Ayala. I'm a bona fide Boricua. For those who don't know what that is, I'm from Puerto Rico, born and raised.
Yeah.
On the playground is where I spend most of my days.
Yeah.
I like to say.
What part of Puerto Rico, man?
I'm from a little town called Canóvanas. And for those who are familiar with the island, if you know Loíza, it's an old slave town right outside of that.
Okay.
You can't miss it. You come into our town, you're gonna see the red, the yellow, the green flags. You're representing that African culture, and then that's where I'm from. So, I came to the United States at an early age. My mother, she was a single mother. She joined the military to get us out of poverty, and that's how I ended up in the United States. Had to learn English. My first glimpse of being a soldier was watching my mother. She spent 20 years in the Army as a lab tech.
Okay.
That was my introduction to the Army and understanding what it's like to be a military dependent, moving around, PCSing, different bases. She wasn't a combat armed soldier, but I still got that touch and feel for service. That's what initially brought me in.
So grew up as an Army brat. Yeah. And what did you learn from your mother that you incorporate every day in your life today?
Yeah, I'd say two things. Number one is grit. To be in your early 30s, not speak a lick of English, that's my accent popping through, and deciding to leave everything behind and join the Army in the early 80s when it wasn't fashionable, that's tough. And two is a sense of continuously innovating yourself. I like to say that immigrants that come into the United States, those are the most innovative people that we have on our soil because they come here most of the time with nothing. They come with the clothes that's on their back and they have the grit and the will to survive. And they are the most entrepreneurial minded folks. And while growing up, I watched my mom do hair. I watched her do cakes. And that was all at night. And, our house was always full with customers or people getting their hair done. It was great.
So your mom was doing that while she was a soldier at the same time?
Oh, yeah. Oh,
wow.
All the way through. My mom had about 3 or 4 jobs. We should have been Jamaican.
Yeah. All right. So you mentioned that, your mom inspired you to enlist in the early 80s. But tell us, when exactly did you enlist? And why? Why did you enlist, Ruben?
I enlisted out of necessity myself. I was not a good student. That's one thing I did not take from my mom was in the books. I didn't have much going for me after high school. I'm a product of I'm a guy who failed the ninth grade. I think I got like a 600 on my SAT. I don't think I've ever shared that before publicly.
Well, the
I
world
say it
knows
to my
now.
kids all the
It's
time.
okay.
Yeah.
It's okay.
Yeah. It's true.
Yeah.
It's okay.
But I'm that guy. I walked across the stage and there was no accolades. There was no scholarships. So I joined the Army Reserves just because my mom said, you got to do something. And that's where my journey started. So I didn't go in active duty as an enlisted guy, but I did join the reserves as a 71 Delta, which is a legal specialist.
Yeah. And don't feel bad about that SAT. Les got a 590 and they let him become an officer. So it's all right, Ruben. So I got to dig into this 71 Delta, and but you spent 13 years in the Special Forces, the Green Berets. How'd you get there? And then what was your most gratifying moment as a Green Beret?
I ended up commissioning as an infantry officer, so I didn't spend 13 years total as an SF officer, but I went into the infantry, and that started my career, and just eye-opening moments as to what I thought I saw on TV was cool to what reality was. And I actually ended up in SF as an accident, to be honest with you. I was a branch detail guy. And for those who don't understand what a branch detail is when officers are given the opportunity to serve for a few years in a combat arms position, and then they're transitioned to a soft skilled branch to give more combat arms experience to those support branches. So I was a fully bona fide, qualified signal officer, went to the signal advanced course, captain's career course. I had two options. I could go to Ranger Regiment, or I could go to Germany to 1st Lieutenant Special Forces Group to be an S6 there. And that's a no-brainer. You give me the opportunity to go to Germany, I'm going to Germany. So I went to Germany, and that opened my eyes to what Special Forces was. And it was at that time that I started petitioning to get a waiver to go to Special Forces selection out of your group. And, I had the full confidence and backing of my leadership to do so. So a little bit unconventional.
Yeah. Everything in life, if you want it, you got to go after it, right?
I was hungry for it. I'll tell you what.
So, Ruben, we've already heard about how your mother taught you so much about entrepreneurship. But let me ask you this. What skills did you pick up during your time in the Army that you use in your company today?
Wow. So my entrepreneurship bug developed way back before being a soldier, watching my mother hustle. So I always knew that as a soldier, you can do more than just being a soldier. So when I was a lieutenant, I was buying houses in Fayetteville. I was into real estate. If it was hustle, that's what I was doing after hours, just hustle. Hustle was like my middle name. During the time frames, I was an A-team commander. I was a team leader, and we would deploy to Afghanistan or, wherever we were. And you have to run a fire base on your own. You're in charge of 600 people. You got to take care of toilet issues. You got to take care of generators and fuel. People need to be fed. People need to be paid. And oh, by the way, at night, you got to go take care of bad guys too.
Yeah.
That is an orchestration of logistics, of management, of personnel and emotions and everything else that I don't hear a lot of people talking about. People like to talk about the war stories, but when you think about the stuff that we were doing, wow, man, that is, you're like running little cities.
That's right.
When I got out and I started developing my business plan, I really leaned back on those days to say, hey, this is not your hardest day. The hardest days you had were, you're taking care of all these people. By the way, you got to protect them too. And that was tough.
So, Ruben, the first company you actually started was a healthy vending machine company. Can you tell us about it?
Yeah. So when I got out of, when I ETS out of the Army, I knew that I needed to learn about business. So I applied for the executive MBA program at University of Texas, went there. And during those 2 years, I formulated a business plan and marketing plan to create a healthy vending company. So San Antonio at the time came out on the top 10 fattest cities in Men's Health magazine. Their words, not mine. Okay. It was on the cover. And what I saw, in San Antonio, we like tacos and Big Red. That's the big thing. So I thought that maybe if I put healthy options in a vending machine, maybe that would be a hit. And it worked out well. From 2014 to the pandemic, I hired nothing but special forces guys to work for me. And we were like the deadliest vending company in the nation. That's how we went. And we had a really big footprint in the region, but, COVID just slowed that down. I just recently sold the company last year, though. So it didn't go out of business. I was able to nurse it back after COVID, but Triple Nickel and the responsibilities there, I had to end up selling it. I just couldn't stretch myself too thin.
Okay, 2 quick follow-up questions. What did you learn from the company, and what was your favorite snack?
Yeah, great. The greatest treat is still a Cliff Bar. I love Cliff Bars.
Yeah.
And the biggest lesson is you got to pay people what they're worth. A lot of people getting into business, they want to pay their people next to nothing. And the results are going to be next to nothing. I had to learn that the hard way. You got to pay people what they're worth.
I've been saying the same thing less since I first started here.
Hey, you were here before me, man.
Have you purchased your AUSA swag yet? Be proud to show your support for AUSA, which in turn shows your support for the U.S. Army and our soldiers. Check out all AUSA swag at shop.ausa.org.
Welcome back to Army Matters. Now, Ruben, let's talk Triple Nickel. Why did you decide to name your company after the fabled World War II battalion?
Yeah, so I love telling that story too. So my co-founders and I, there's 4 of us.
Okay.
What we had in common as we started just breaking down, stripping the layers of what our commonalities were. We all started our careers in the 82nd Airborne Division. The second thing we all had in common was, we're all Black dudes.
Okay.
So, for me, yes, I'm from Puerto Rico, but I'm also Afro-Latino. And when I say we, the paratroopers, we draw our lineage from the 555th Parachute Infantry Battalion. And instead of just naming the company something nebulous or putting some cross arrows on it like everybody else does, something special forces related, we wanted to tie it into history to have something to talk about.
Yeah.
Triple Nickel was like the first thing that came to mind. And to pay homage to those guys every chance we got, because they're really forgotten when it comes to the history books. And we really wanted to give them their flowers. So that was why we chose to name it, just to really honor the guys who came before us.
When did you first learn about them? Did you have to learn that history when you went through prop blast? Did you have to go through prop blast as a
I sure
soldier?
did. Yes, sir. Oh, yeah. But what's funny is none of that history was ever in prop blast.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. Right around the time I got to Fort Bragg, there was a painter who got commissioned to make a triple nickel print. And they were selling it at the PX. And I saw this painting. It had 3 Black gentlemen on there, World War II attire. And it said, "We were first." So I dug into it a little bit more. Then I found out about the association, checked out some meetings, got a chance to meet some of the OGs who were still involved with it. So it was just through a matter of personal learning.
Ruben, you mentioned that several of your co-founders served in the 82nd, which I think is the best division in the Army. But what skills did each of them bring to the company?
One of them, Rod Graham, he was my team sergeant when I was a commander.
Right.
And we just had a phenomenal relationship. And I know I can trust him with my life.
Okay.
I know we're going to be dealing with money, so I needed somebody.
You can trust. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. Second up is Chris McPhee. We call him Smurf. He's about 4'5". And this guy is an all Army wrestler. You know, he's about as bad as they come.
Right.
Former Special Forces communicator.
Okay.
Came out of third group. He's phenomenal with the camera, videography. That's what he dedicated his work to once he retired. I knew I had to have him on the team so we can capture the good visuals. And then fourth is Cortez Riggs. He's the only one who's not a former Special Forces guy, but he's the founder of the Military Influencer Conference. And we knew that we needed somebody with the reach and the connection points within this community to just make things happen. So I didn't know him before we started the company, but he understood the vision and the assignment, and we've been tight ever since.
Okay. So how much experience did you guys have in retail clothing?
Zero.
Zero.
I couldn't tell you how to make a shirt. but everything I'm telling you goes back to, I never ran a city before.
That's right.
It's like a superpower knowing that you have this background in SF and you feel like you could just do anything. And it's very naive thinking, but I think that's what we needed to make it happen. And we put the company together in 45 days and went to market with it.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah, true story.
What's the single most popular product that Triple Nikel has produced? What design, a single product?
The all-in cash shirt, by far.
The all-in cash shirt. Okay.
Yes, sir. So
describe that for us.
So All-in Cash, for those who don't know who he is, he's the first African-American to receive the Medal of Honor since the GWAT. The Global War on Terror began in 2001. And even before he won the medal, we were in conversations with his family. They always wanted to start a nonprofit in his name, but didn't have the money. So we had an idea like, hey, let's come up with a really cool design and let's sell some T-shirts and we'll donate proceeds to help start this foundation. And that thing went like gangbusters. We put it in Kohl's. I had to pitch Kohl's to sell them on the idea to have all-in cash. That thing sold out in 30 days.
Wow.
Nationwide, yeah. By far our most popular design. For those who can visualize it, it's we took the Obama Hope poster and we put All-in Cash's image on there and put hero on it instead of hope.
I've seen that. I've seen that shirt before.
Hey, Ruben, I sat on his Medal of Honor board.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. But yeah, when it got to us, I mean, I'm not supposed to talk about the conduct of the Medal of Honor board, but the result obviously is what happened. But
well, I'm glad you were there, and I'm glad that he got it. Yeah, but yeah, I love to talk about SAR First Class Cash anytime I can.
Great American hero. Great American hero.
Now, Ruben, this summer you and your team are expanding something called Black Ops, which is a doc-series and a museum exhibit. Can you tell us a little bit more about it?
Oh, I love talking about this one too. So this is a true story. I can't make this up. Lieutenant General Ferder called us to the carpet at the National Veterans Memorial Museum, January of 2023. They just wanted more representation in their gift shop. So this is basic stuff. They flew us out there. We did a tour. We recorded some stuff for them. And when we were leaving, they said, hey, have you guys ever thought about doing any type of exhibit? And if you had the opportunity for Black History Month, what would you do? So Chris and I, Smurf and I, we were on this bridge in Columbus. It was cold. It was snowing. He's like, hey, man, what if we did an exhibit? We called it Black Ops, and we just focused Black dudes who in special operations. They would swat that thing down like crazy, wouldn't they? I said, yeah, that'd be funny. I said, let's do it. So we put together this plan and we briefed it to the museum and said, hey, there's a gap that we see in the programming and recruiting and everything else. How about we focus on African Americans who served in special operations across services and told their stories in a museum exhibit format. They loved it, asked us to come back and represent all minorities, which we loved. And throughout the course of our conversations, this came out to be a documentary. So we are in the middle of producing a 3-part documentary series. The first season is African Americans in special operations. It releases starts in June of 2024 on Amazon Prime. And we are focusing on 8 individual subjects who have served in special operations, who have, who come from the African-American community.
Ruben, can you tell us a little bit more about the exhibit that's opening this summer?
So one thing I failed to mention, which I think is important to this, we are doing a 5-city roadshow in support of Black Ops, just letting people know this is coming. And what we're doing at the roadshow is we have the actual traveling exhibit that's going to be at the museum.
Mm-hmm.
We let people take a look at it. We are screening episode 1, and there's a follow-on panel where we have hard conversations.
Mm-hmm.
In Tampa, we had retired Brigadier General Remo Butler. He's the first African-American, Special Forces officer to make general.
Yep.
God, man, he brought the thunder. It was awesome.
One last question, Ruben. What advice would you give to your 17-year-old self?
I would tell myself 3 things.
Okay.
I would tell myself, read more.
Okay.
Reading is not, there's no allergies associated with reading.
Right.
Right. I didn't do enough of it.
Right.
Yeah. Seek out mentors. It's okay to find people that want to pour back into you.
Okay.
And be a good listener.
Yeah. I love that. I mentor Les every day because he needs
absolutely.
every day.
I'm just kidding. I ain't even gonna go.
It's all good. It's all good. Don't take the bait, Ruben. Don't take the bait.
I'm not. I saw that. But the last thing I would tell my younger self is that a 70% solution is much better than 100% solution.
I love that one.
Yes.
I say, hey, listen, give me a C instead of an incomplete. Right. So just get it done, and we'll make it better. I love that one, Ruben. I love that one.
Now, finally, Ruben, really, this is the last question. Where can listeners go to find out more about Triple Nikel and Black Ops?
Yeah, you can find anything you could possibly want on triplenikel.com, and nickel is spelled Nikel. You can find us on any social media platform, triple_Nikel, Nikel, TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn. We're there.
I'm on the website now. I can't get a All One Cash Hero tee. This sold out in Kohl's, man. What's up with that?
I told you, sir. Those things went fast.
Thanks, Ruben. I'll tell you what, you're an inspiration for all of us and for a great representation of special operations, but just the soldier community. So thanks for spending time with us today.
We're proud of you, man.
I appreciate you both, gentlemen, for your service, and thank you for, I'm humbled to be here.
On Army Matters, we tell stories of bravery and community, both large and small. In today's chapter spotlight, we share how our Redstone Huntsville chapter has done the same with a very recent fundraiser. In 1980, the Army's Delta Force, sailors, airmen, and Marines took part in Operation Eagle Claw, the Iran hostage rescue mission, an attempt to bring back 53 hostages from overseas. And this month, AUSA's Redstone Huntsville chapter has just hosted the event, An Evening in the Desert with Operation Eagle Claw, that brought some of these missions members together to share anecdotes and tell the real story of what happened. Held at the Jackson Center in Huntsville, Alabama, the event featured a large turnout with all funds going to the U.S. Veterans Memorial Museum and the Army Heritage Education Center. Congrats to the chapter and all those involved in this notable event. If you or your chapter would like to be profiled on the show, please email us at podcast@ausa.org. Hooah!
To all our listeners, thanks for joining us. Army Matters is brought to you by the Association of the United States Army, the U.S. Army's professional association, member-supported, Army-connected. Visit us at ausa.org for more information or to become a member. Your membership helps AUSA continue to carry out its mission, educate, inform, and connect with the total Army, our industry partners, and supporters of a strong national defense. Today's episode was hosted by Lieutenant General Retired Les Smith, and SMA retired Dan Dailey. An anchor hosted by Carrie Barrow-Heckes. Anthony Del Call is the producer and writer, and Andy Bosnack is the supervising sound editor. Ellen Toner is the content editor. Unzinga Curry is the executive producer, and the senior producers are Carrie Barrow-Heckes and LaSharon Duncan. Be sure to subscribe to Army Matters wherever you get your podcasts, and please leave a review. As you know, we love seeing stars in the Army, especially if it comes in the form of a 5-star review. AUSA's Army Matters podcast can also be heard on Reach Across America Radio on Monday at 8 p.m. Eastern, on the iHeartRadio app, the Odyssey app, and the TuneIn app with the search of the word Reef. AUSA's Army Matters podcast primary purpose is to entertain. The podcast does not constitute advice or services. While guests are invited to listen, listeners, please note that you're not being provided professional advice from the podcast or the guest. The views and opinions of our guests do not necessarily reflect the views of AUSA. For questions or to provide topic recommendations, email us at podcast@ausa.org. I'm LaSharon Duncan. Hope you have a great Army Day. Hooah!